This week, we continue examining new products that were introduced or launched at IBC this year. In these interviews, I'm not only interested in learning about what was announced, but also why the company decided to create it in the first place. As you'll see, new trends include greater flexibility, more wireless support, and new ways to work together. Before we start, though, I want to invite you to subscribe to our free weekly show newsletter at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Every issue every week provides quick links to the different segments on the show, plus articles of interest to filmmakers. Best of all, it's free and comes out every Saturday morning. And now it's time for our Doddle News Update with James DeRuvo. Hello, James.
Happy Thursday, Larry.
A wonderful Thursday, and the last Thursday in September to you. How you doing today?
God, it's like October already.
Well, let's get into the last news for September. What's our lead story?
Well, the big news is that Panasonic has officially announced their S1R and S1 full-frame mirrorless cameras. Notice I said two models. The S1R is the pro-level model with a 47-megapixel Super 35mm image sensor. And then there's the entry-level S1 with a 24-megapixel Super 35mm image sensor. Both models are essentially the same otherwise. They can shoot 4K 60p straight out of the box. They have dual image stabilization for both the lenses and the camera itself. And an interesting thing that'll make Jared Polin happy, dual card slots with an XQD and SD slot for recording, and a 51.6mm Leica L mount lens mount.
That's very cool. What are your thoughts about the camera?
Well, looking at Panasonic's entry into the full-frame mirrorless war, it seems to me that the company is not only safe in its spot as the number 2 mirrorless camera in the business, but it's set to challenge Sony for the top spot. The camera shoots 4K 60 right out of the box, and that imaging from the entire sensor with no crop in 4K, this is a serious cinematic mirrorless camera, whether you're using the higher end or the entry level.
All right. Well, that's Panasonic for the lead. What's your second story?
Well, my second story is a combination of two stories because it has to do with media cards. Arri has announced they're teaming up with European media card maker Angelbird to create a custom-built CFast 2 media card for the Arri Alexa Mini and Amira Cinema cameras. And ProGrade Digital has announced a V60 microSD XC media card with reading speeds approaching 200 megabytes per second and writing speeds almost at 100.
So what are your key takeaways here?
Two things stand out to me. First off, more camera companies are getting into designing their own media cards in order to maximize the performance and the security of recording by making them match up with the circuitry that they use in the camera itself. I also find it amazing that ProGrade Digital is still not interested in supporting the XQD format, which is starting to gain ground with camera makers now that Panasonic is deploying it. Considering their Lexar pedigree, it's just astounding to me.
James, what other stories are you following this week?
Well, other stories we're following. Apple outlines the best GPUs to put in your older Mac Pro towers in order to upgrade to Mac OS Mojave. Steven Soderbergh has sold his second iPhone feature to Netflix. And if you're tempted to buy a new full-frame mirrorless camera, we have 9 things you might want to consider. That's what we're working on. What's tonight's show about?
Tonight's show is all about exciting new toys. We're talking with NewTek and Small HD, Clearcom and Axel Video about their announcements from IBC.
Well, you know how much I like a good toy, especially when you can use it to make a movie.
Absolutely correct. James, where can we go on the web to follow these and all your other stories?